Something that must be understood is that Masons believe that the light cannot exist without the dark, and the dark cannot exist without the light. In order for them to truly be Satanists and dwell in darkness, they have to allow for light under their terms. When you're older and you take your wife for a walk and you're holding hands or what have you, and you're walking a cute little dog, they don't mind it as long as you're not interfering with Babylon's system. If you want to celebrate your quinceañera or go to Chuck E. Cheese with your child or play catch in your backyard, they don't mind as long as you're not interfering with their satanic system. In fact, they need those things for the contrast between light and dark. For them to dwell in darkness and to maintain their satanic stranglehold on society, they need to allow for a certain amount of light that makes their demonic stomachs turn. Matthew 10:22. You will be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. Will be saved from what? Light and darkness under the terms of the builder. The builder put the checkered floor on the base, on the foundation, on the floor of the building. Why? Because basically the idea is to balance the light with the darkness and to control both of them and to maintain the building, including the base, to maintain the control over the basic ideas and the more advanced concepts. One real quick last thing. Don't you see why they're going to win? The builder understands the types of people he needs. If he needs an artwork or a sculpture commission, he recruits the artist or the sculptor. If he needs a special type of glass, he recruits somebody who specializes in making stained glass windows. It's the same way that the Masons have recruited exactly the types of people that they need to fulfill the Masonic great work. The scientists, the G and the compass and the trowel. So they have Masons, architects, they have scientists. And scientists have the expert power in the technocracy, in the meritocracy, where people are supposedly assigned positions of power based on merit. And there are secret societies in all the prestigious colleges in America in order to channel the skills and the abilities of scholars and future scholars to place them in strategic places in society. So I just wanted to add that real fast. But now, without further ado, this video is about the Code of Silence. And the last time I made a video specifically about the Code of Silence in San Jose, I was heavily drugged and I was smoking marijuana. And I've made many videos that have proven that, many interviews with the people who know me best, and some interviews, at least two, with the perpetrators of these crimes. With that being said, let's get to it, shall we? From Wikipedia, the references abc.net.au, TV programs Code of Silence, Dan Goldberg, JTA's Australian correspondent, wins award for sex abuse film, and Sharon Otterman and Ray Rivera, ultra-Orthodox, shun their own for reporting child sex abuse. Okay, so keep in mind it was some Jews who are actually the references for this article. It's very short, so I'm just going to read it. A code of silence is a condition in effect when a person opts to withhold what is believed to be vital or important information, voluntarily or involuntarily. The code of silence is usually either kept because of threat of force or danger to oneself, or being branded as a traitor or an outcast within the unit or organization, as the experiences of the police whistleblower Frank Serpico illustrates. Police are known to have a well-developed blue code of silence. That part's key. It's not just the Code of Silence documentary, but they have a well-developed blue code of silence, which also implies your local police rather than your corrections officers. So the Code of Silence documentary ends up just verifying what those who have looked into it know to be true. The Code of Silence was famously practiced in Irish American neighborhoods in Boston, Massachusetts, such as Charleston, South Boston, and Somerville. Dan Goldberg and Danny Ben Moshe won Australia's most prestigious journalism award, the Walkie Documentary Award for Code of Silence, which covers the fight for an investigation into allegations of child sex abuse at Yeshiva College, an all-male Orthodox Jewish school. It portrays the experiences of an Orthodox Jewish father and his son. After the son breaks the code of silence in Melbourne's Orthodox community and goes public with his story of being sexually abused as a student. An Orthodox Jewish concept of masonry forbids Jews from reporting crimes to civil authorities and keeping them with the Jewish community instead. A more famous example of the code of silence is omerta, the Italian omerta, from the Latin humilitas, humility or modesty, the mafia code of silence. Now, that's the end of the article. When you look at this article, several things stick out. One is that they're talking about humility, and we all know the mafia is a well-structured organization. They're saying humble yourself and don't put yourself above the hierarchy. Another thing comes to mind is that these people who maintain the code of silence are cowards. Not a single one of them is brave. Why? Well, it goes back to one of the first sentences. The code of silence is usually either kept because of threat of force or danger to oneself, or being branded as a traitor or an outcast within the unit or organization. Those are the reasons they cite for it being kept, and I 100% agree. I've been dealing with these streets for, many, many years. Yes, they're absolutely correct. The people who keep the code of silence, even if they're the biggest bodybuilder on the planet, they're mentally weak. They are afraid. These people are afraid, and they maintain the order, and they accept whatever reason is given to them, not because they respect the hierarchy, because they are afraid for what will happen to them. So someone such as myself, an uncontrolled political dissident, is brave. People in the mafia, in the Irish gangs, in the Irish Masonic lodges, in the Club of Rome, in the Freemasonic lodges, people in mental health, in the military, all these people who do things on behalf of the order of society, they are cowards who are only concerned with themselves. First and foremost, they have put themselves and their selfishness above all of humanity, especially God, which is something they should have never done. I would then assert that it is impossible to be a Christian and to maintain a code of silence. Let me just get you this real quick. Excuse me for my typing. John 8:32. Well, what does John 8:32 say? New International Version. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Going back to 31. So he said to the Jews who had believed him, if you continue in my word, you are truly my disciples. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. I apologize. I do a lot of these impromptu speeches to help me with my critical thinking. Luke 8:17.
For there is nothing hidden that will not be disclosed, and nothing concealed that will not be known or brought out into the open. Going back to 16, it starts off by saying, no one lights a lamp and covers it with a jar or puts it under a bed. Instead, he sets it on a lampstand so those who enter can see the light. So anytime you claim to be enlightened, but you're in a secret society, which obviously does not set the light on the lampstand, so to speak, you are not a Christian. Therefore, police officers, military, anybody who has a confidentiality agreement that they hold above the morality in the Bible and Christian values is obviously not a Christian. You know them by their works. Okay? Now, when you look at the study Bible, it proves my point very well. Let me just read you all this. No one lights a lamp and covers it with a jar or puts it under a bed. Instead, he sets it on a lampstand so those who enter can see the light. For there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and nothing concealed that will not be known and illuminated. Well, does it say that you can start off by covering up the lamp and then reveal it when you feel the time is right? No. There is no possible justification for what they are doing. And the fact that they use the word Illuminati is very sacrilegious indeed. No, they are not enlightened. They are in darkness, pretending to have light to help justify their code of silence. Now, when you do your due diligence, I want you to look into the Native American reservations that are still around and the Native American police. In many cases, the police have trouble with rape charges because it is their culture to maintain somewhat of a code of silence and to deal with it locally with the tribal elders and however they deal with it. So far I've established that the military, law enforcement, intelligence agencies, politicians, Irish groups, gangs, clubs, secret societies, Italian groups, gangs, clubs, secret societies, Jewish groups, including people who consider themselves Orthodox, which is quite ironic, maintain the code of silence. And this goes back to the builders of King Solomon's temple and the people who betrayed Jesus, who also had codes of silence and worked behind the scenes. And they were Gentiles, they were pagans, and they were Jews. They were pagan Roman secret societies, and they were Jews that built the temple, that betrayed God, and also both of them had relationships with Satan. Let me just pull that, give you this another reference. See, King Solomon's temple built by demons. Testament of Solomon. Well, this will take some research looking up. Okay, so in the Talmud, Solomon summoned demons. All right, to help him with his masonry, the measurements and the materials. All right, so regardless how you slice it, I'm right. Okay, so there's a code of silence. It is associated with Satanism. So when all is said and done, what is the root of the code of silence? People who believe in Satanism as a philosophy. And when you look at the Bible, it verifies that yes, you cannot have this code of silence and be a Christian. You automatically are a Satanist by your actions. You know, it's like somebody's raping you and they're saying, I'm not a rapist. Somebody's stealing you from your, and you're saying they're not a thief. It's the same thing as these people saying that they're a Christian. They're like, I'm not a Satanist, but they have a satanic code of silence, and they're maintaining Babylon's satanic order. Now, there will be people who say, well, that's not fair. How is that not fair? It's not fair to call it as it is. They are Satanists. And the code of silence is satanic. And it was the prophets and the Son of God that knew very well that this code of silence and this pagan and Talmudic way of doing things, was existing and was coming into existence. The Talmud is more like the writings of the Jews who betrayed God and broke the covenant, coming out as rabbinical Jews, rabbinical Judaism, okay, as opposed to temple Judaism. And it's very interesting because it is the rabbinical Jews who give their perspective on the temple Jews. So no matter how you slice it, it is their philosophies, it is their culture, okay? We live in a society of eugenicists that feel that they have the right to determine who lives and dies, just like the people who betrayed Jesus. They felt, well, this guy's a political dissident. We don't want him to plant his seed. We don't want him around. We're going to kill him. It's that same thinking that goes into modern day eugenics. And it is impossible for someone who is an excellent critical thinker, who has achieved a certain level of mental conditioning, not to come to this conclusion. So what must be done? They must dumb down people and get rid of people like me and pretend that they're crazy, even though I'm using their own sources. Orthodox Jews themselves, white people, Australians themselves. So how can they then turn around and say, well, you're mistaken? Well, you're wrong. Well, that's not fair. What they're really saying is that they'll say whatever it takes to maintain their image. Now, if you do not hate the image of the rich whites and the rich Jews, you are an idiot. How much blood was shed? How much suffering was allowed so that these rich whites and Jews could create this facade? How many people suffered and died? How dare you not hate them for it? How dare you not despise them for it? What they are doing is more than just distasteful. It is an abomination to God and the deepest of betrayals when it comes to betraying humanity. Thank you. Unconventional warfare coupled with eugenics. That is the tactics of the eugenicists. Let me put things in perspective for you. In 2013, 176,000 people died from sickle cell disease. 80% of sickle cell diseases occur in sub-Saharan Africa. The average life expectancy in the developed world is 40 to 60 years. Oh, it gets better or worse, depending on how you look at it. In 1954, the protective effect against malaria of sickle cell trait was described. Now, let me explain what this means. This means that the condition was first described by James B. Herrick in 1910. In 1949, 6 years before 1954, genetic transmission was determined. Now, these genetics, it's eugenics, right? Good genes, eugenics. Superior stock, inferior stock, sterilizing, killing people, justifying the murder and the sterilization of people and the allowing people to die by saying they're better off dying than passing on their genes. So 1954. Well, how long ago was that? About 62 years, right? 62 years ago, they said, well, for some reason, people with sickle cell have some sort of a protective genetic environment that keeps them from contracting malaria as often. So then what happens here? Well, let's see. Malaria is decimating people. It's wiping out people. And little things like mosquito nets can prevent these deaths. So what happens here is the people who do not have sickle cell are being wiped out. And the people who do have it live to be less than 40 years old in underdeveloped nations. Because remember, the average life expectancy in the developed world, America, the UK, the developed world, is 40 to 60 years. These greedy liars that set the stage and watch it play out while they drink champagne and do satanic rituals, did this by design. They're going to turn around and say, why is it our problem? They're going to turn around and say, well, just because we extort these people and we oppress them doesn't mean it's our job to save them. These liars, these oppressors, did this by design. And death to anyone who says otherwise. And then they're going to turn around and say that they are superior, when it was these deceivers that created the problem in the first place. And their solution, their God-forsaken, blasphemous solution, is eugenics. Oh, but the kids. We got to think about the kids, yes. Worst comes to worst, you back them in the corner. Yes, the world's a bad place. There's these greedy people that we can't control. We got to think about the kids and just do what they say so the kids don't have to suffer because you don't want to admit to yourself that there's greedy people that we can't control. I'm touched that you have taken such a noble stance on the topic. But allow me to interject, you cowards. Allow me to offer a word to the wise. When it comes to these greedy people that we can't control, I say fucking kill them. Kill them all.